So, hello everybody, my name is Daniel Detweiler. I'm a mixing engineer and I want to give you a nice tutorial about high-end automation in ProTools. And what I mean with this is, what if you have maybe 10 songs in one session, not just one song as you very often have in a pop mix, but you have 10 songs, 20 songs in one session, and you need to automate those songs. And even once you're done with the mixes of all 10 songs, your producer might want to have some changes and so on and so on. And this is not an easy task in Pro Tools, but it can be done, and actually it's not so difficult. Let's start with a quick introduction of what these lessons will be. So here in the Pro Tools session, you actually see we have two songs, song 1, song 2. As I said, it could be 10 songs, it could be 20 songs. You also see that there is already automation. This is not automation, but it's just for the demonstration purpose. So we have automation. Now the typical problem is that you have those two songs. You come into the studio the next morning, you want to make some refinements on your mix. However, as you know, you cannot move your fader anymore because the fader is actually playing back the automation of your automation line. So your faders are gone. What I often see in studios is that engineers are using the trim tool. And then they say, yeah, okay, I can make my piano a little bit softer. Let's see, this is the bass. Let's see how it sounds with the bass softer. Great. They might move the selection. Let's have the piano louder. Oh no, I have to... okay, I have to create 2 points here and so on. Let's try if it's softer. Nice, louder. However, that is not the way it should be done. That's not a professional way of mixing. That's just guessing. I guess, would it be great if I make it a little bit lower by 2.6 dB? And it never will be right. And moreover, it's a very unintuitive thing of working. So the right way to do is using automation that is written to a selection. As we already have volume automation, we actually want to have now trim automation. I have a group actually, that is for all my tracks that I want to have automated, so I can just change it for this group which I like. And we go to trim, and then we do something cool. We engage right on stop to all. If you press once, it's blue. I'll explain this more in detail later. I want to have it red. And what is also important is to have selections for your song. I quickly show selection for song 1, selection for song 2. So once the selection is active, next thing is dynamic transport. Again, I'll explain this later. Then you have your separate playback marker. So now I have a selection for song 1, my playback marker wherever I want to listen. Then we are basically ready for our automation work. Let's say in song 1 we want to have the piano softer. Now you can adjust this trim during the playback is running. You always hear what you are doing. It's a very musical way. Let's zoom in a little bit. Once we feel that this version of the mix is good, all we have to press is basically stop, and then it writes that thing to all on the trim volume line. So we can make it a little bit more easy. Go here to trim volume. Now you see my change. I press undo, redo. We can do this forever. Let's make piano a little bit louder. Let's make the bass softer. Okay, that is better. Once we have this song, we go to the second song. All we have to do is we go to our next selection. We engage dynamic transport, or we do just the very same thing. Okay, piano should be louder. Bass louder. Okay, that's nice. Overhead louder, and so on. Let's zoom out a little bit. So now you see in song 1, your trim automation is still there. And whatever you do now, no matter where your cursor is, everything nicely reflected. And you can even do this with plugin automation. Let's say in that song you want to have a different EQ for your bass. Let's say we want to have this EQ for the bass, and it's done only for that song. Let's go to the first song. Here we go, engage dynamic transport. Let's say here we want to have another EQ, and it's done. If you don't believe, let's take out dynamic transport, play our song 1, song 2, song 1 with its volume and with its plugin. And this is a very easy way for song by song automation. It's very fast. The last thing, just for this quick overview, what if you want to have a new plugin on song 2 but not on song 1? Even that is easy. Let's say on song 2 we want to have nice compressor. But now obviously this compressor is also in song 1, but we don't want to. So again, there's two ways. One is quickly de-engage the plugin and get that thing to bypass. Because you put plugin automation out quickly, your bypass is just basically pressed. And now you can go back to automation. Again, go to your song. And here you want to have it. Maybe more, whatever, maybe all, whatever you do. And it's done. If you want to check, you can just take the playback marker, quickly go to the first song here, and you see bypassed. And as soon as it comes to the selection, it jumps in. Very cool. What if you want to have compression also for the first song? Just go there, press the bypass, adjust, and done. Let's control it. Song 1, song 2, nice. So keep on looking. We are now going into details of all this. So welcome back. Let's first start with very basic automation moves. I don't go to the detail here. You should know what latch is, what trim is, here what touch is, and if you don't know this, then I recommend you to look some tutorials in YouTube. There are some great tutorials that explain you the basic of automation. Let's quickly say, let me delete some volume automation here. Let's say that this is our basic session. We have some songs in the session and our rough mix, so the basic setting of level is done. We are basically ready to go on. So that will be the levels of my faders that I think are good as a starting point for all the songs. This is what every mixer does first. It's like if you mix on an analog console, you make a basic sets of levels that you feel comfortable with. Let's just say that is it for now. Now the next thing is actually that you are starting to make fader rights. Typically you start with the first song. I recommend you in ProTools also start with the first song. You could start with the second or with any song, but it's usually better if you start with the first song. The reason is because you always, let's put that out, always could write something to the end then, and because you haven't automated the songs that come later, then you always can press write to end, and whatever your fader level is will be written to the end. And if you start with song 10 and then you go to song 1, and if then you press write to the end, then obviously you have killed your song 10. So that is why I recommend you. Let's quickly demonstrate this. If you would start with the second song, here we will make some nice fader right, and we would like this as a right. Then that means if you're in the first song, you're also writing faders, and then you might think that this level, whatever you do, Okay, let's do it again. And then for whatever reason you think that this bass level that you have now would be great for all the other songs. If you start with song 1, or and then song 2 and song 3, now you can just press right to stop, no, right to end on stop, and your level is going to the end of the session. And this is actually the way most automation systems on analog consoles, the Flying Fader or Massenburg automation are working. Okay, let's go back here and we go to song 1 and we automate it a little bit. I just make some moves, they don't make necessarily sense here because it's about the demonstration of automation. Okay, maybe in the intro of the song, or there's no real intro, we may say the drummer plays soft, we might want to go up a little bit, we might do this with a fader ride. Go down, and so on. This is usually yeah, an important step in mixing to set the levels right. You could also do some tweaking with the mouse. Now the main key and the main purpose of this tutorial is song by song automation. So this, what we have here, is our song 1. Now we want to go to the song 2. And how can we now work on song 2? Because the first thing you want to do is play your song 2. You hear that the levels might not be totally perfect. So what everybody wants to do, and it's very easy in ProTools, we want to basically have faders back, and we want to make sure that this fader, whatever we are doing, is going to the entire selection. So basically here we don't have any volume automation, and we basically want to remix that song a little bit before we go to the automation. The key point is, let's first switch out to trim. The key point is to have selections, as I showed in the introduction. I not only have markers for my songs, I also have selections, and as you see, obviously the selection in that is stored. So this helps us already a lot. The second thing next to have selection is actually to be able to play it back and to write whatever we do with our faders to the range of the entire selection. That is the key point, and this is why you need to have this automation window open, and why you have to understand what it's actually telling you. I have it always open in my session. If you want to quickly open it, it's Command 4, I believe. What we furthermore want is to have this right on stop, and it's important that we understand this. If you press here something, let's say we press that thing here, what this tells you is that whatever you do with your fader, it will be written to all, or to the selection. Now that's a really important thing. And if it's blue, it means that it will just be active once, and then the button will fall out again, just for security reason. So let's quickly do it. So let's say I want to have my piano at this level. Let's zoom out again. I press stop. As you can see, we have the new level, but we have it on the entire session, because this is basically what this command is doing. Undo, redo, and yeah, we fucked up the first song. That's not what we want to have. If we have a selection, however, it works differently. Let me quickly make a selection. I engage this again. Let's say this is my new level. I press stop. Now you see it does this volume write that I've done to the entire selection. Of course, this selection was too short. Now, if this is the selection, you play it back, then it's not very good, because first you have to wait until it starts. What you could do is actually delink the timeline and the edit selection. However, let's shorten this up. There is a much better way, and that is dynamic transport. So Option, dynamic transport, and switch it to on and learn the command for it. The command is Control Command P. It's probably the command I use most often in Pro Tools. Now what this is doing is the selection is up here, and you have a playback marker, so you can listen wherever you want. And now let's engage this right on stop again, and let's look for a perfect volume for the piano. Let's press stop. Again, it fell out. Okay, let's do it again. So we move, and we have it. But as you have seen, now twice again it fell out, this right on stop, and obviously you cannot look all the time on this stop. So the easy way is, once we work in this method, we press I think it's Option and on this bottom, and now it turns to red, and now it means it doesn't fall out anymore. So if that thing is on, you have to be very careful about this. It means it always writes whatever you have done to the entire selection, and if you have no selection, it means it will write it to the entire session, and that means it's very easy to destroy your entire session now, because you really have to look on that. So my rule is, whenever I am in this dynamic transport mode and there is a selection, I want to have that in, and as soon as I go out of this for normal editing, for whatever, I will switch it off, and that is Command, click on it. Now it's off, because I don't want to have the risk that if I go out on dynamic transport, like a normal editing thing here, and I quickly make a volume change to kill my entire session. That's not what I want. So let's redo it. Okay, so again, we want to remix our song too. So we go to the selection we have, then we engage dynamic transport. Now you can go to whatever selection to play that you want to. We make sure that this right on stop here is red. Maybe the next thing I should show you is that here, that is the other thing that is important, right enable. Obviously this right on stop to all or to selection only works if, first of all, your tracks are ready to be automated. If they are in read, nothing happens. You have to set them in latch. And if you want to have the volumes, your volume must be engaged here. If you also want to do this for plugins, have the plugins engaged. If you also want to do it for sends, have the send engaged. For now we need the plugin. For now we need the volume. So let's do quickly a rebalance. You can just move whatever you want. Wherever you do something, it goes to latch, indicating something is done. Let's say that these are our new level for this song, and here we go. Really cool. Now, as in song 1, we want to have maybe some rights. So for the rights, you don't have to have this selection. Make sure you de-engage right on stop. Make your rights. Let's say that is nice. Let's say that right, and now you see it's written dynamically. So to speed this up, let's make some stupid rights here, just that we have some rights. Okay, very nice. Now you have two songs with a lot of automation. And now it gets more complicated, because now let's say we go to sleep and we come back the next morning to the studio. Maybe the producer is here. You show him what you have done. That is song 1, that is song 2. The producer might say, it's nice, but I want to try, and then he starts. try to lift the piano, maybe get rid of the bass a little bit, maybe do this, maybe do this, maybe do this. Now, how do you do that? What I see a lot of engineers doing all the time, I already showed it quickly in the introduction, is that they make a selection and they go to this stupid trim tool. And they say, oh, okay, producer, you wanted to have the overhead louder, yeah, oh, how much? How about 1.6 dB? Okay, let's hear it. But that is not the way to do it. It's unmusical, it's slow, it's not intuitive. We must have a more easy way. And moreover, the biggest problem is that once you go on with this method of working, then you don't know what you have been doing to the session, because maybe the next day you want to listen how it was before you changed those things. And if you look to this, it's very difficult to see what were the new changes and what was already there. So we need to have more easy solution. And the easy solution is again to work with the selections. So let's select, to work with the dynamic transport, and now we go to trim automation. However, now we need to be sure that we don't have any information on the trim automation. So if, and that is very important, if we use the trim automation to automate our song, to improve some moves, like here, you see there is trim automation. We first need to get rid of that trim automation. Now the easiest thing is, for me, we quickly select all the track that contains automation, and because we have a group here with all automation, this group helps me to get the tracks that I need to be automated on and off fast. I don't want to have individual tracks switched on to automation. I want to have all audio tracks, all VCAs, all buses. As soon as I need automation, I want to have them to have automation. So that is a group. Then, I think you know that feature. If you press on that little color box here, then it selects your track. Now, if they are selected, all you have to do is press the right mouse click on a track, or make a macro for that one, make color-esque trim automation, look quickly on the screen, and our trim automation is now color-esque. I hope I spelled that word right. Terrible word for German native speakers, okay. But anyway, let's check it. Our yellow lines are flat again, and whatever trim automation we had before is now stored on our volume automation. And again, you don't lose any information that you previously had in your volume automation. It will just be merged. Now we can go back to our trim. So now for what we need now, to basically adjust our song, we want to have right on stop engaged, again with the option key. We want to have dynamic transport, and we are ready to go. Let's say the producer says that he wants to hear the piano louder. Now you can just do it. You hear what you are doing. You can ask him, is it good that way? Louder? Okay. How about that? I think that's too loud. Why don't we try it softer? Would that be nice? No, it's not nice. So you're always hearing what you're doing. You can go on with the overhead. Unbelievable. You can do a completely new mix. You can change whatever you want. No room mics. Okay, mute the room mics. Once it's good, press stop. And you see, you have trimmed the entire selection of your song nicely. Let's undo. Let's redo. Great. Now this is really amazing for many things, because if you don't like what you have done, let's say you come the next morning and you think, wasn't the old version better? Well, all you can do is, on the tracks that you did something, delete your trim automation. Here you are, old version. Get back, just press undo, and you have your trim again. Redo, old version, undo, trim version. Really good. But now the most powerful thing is that you can just switch off dynamic transport quickly, go to your next selection. Here we are. Engage your dynamic transport again. Now we are in the second song. We just go on. I leave that zoom so that you see that nothing in song 1 will be changing. Song 1, let's have more piano, let's have less of that, we just do some things by change, and you see it's trimmed. So we have one set of level for song 1, another set of level for song 2. We can tweak it forever. It's always going to our selection. Let's go back to select song 1, and actually you don't even have to de-engage the dynamic transport, you just go there. If you do this, you have to be you have to pay attention, because now, and that's a little bit stupid actually in Pro Tools, if we have stored our selection in the memory location, it's always for the edit selection and it's not for this playback selection. This is a thing where Avid have not really thought in a good way, because this should be optional on the memory location to where the selection actually goes to. However, in Pro Tools it's always only this selection. What happens if we change something now? Is it for song 2 or is it for song 1? You might think it's for song 1 because edit selection has priority, but it's not. Let's quickly go to our song 1. We have the selection in the edit and we change something. And although you hear it correctly, you see that actually nothing happens, because here, I don't have to press with the finger, I should do it later with the mouse over. Nothing goes to ledge because we are not in that selection. So if you press stop, nothing happened. So actually it's always the top selection. So if you change the selection directly here, what you have to do is just press Control Command P to switch off dynamic transport. Now you have the selection up and down here. Now get back. Now you're good to go. So nice. There is something else that I should point out, and this one is really important if you want to have this working. If you are in the dynamic transport mode, you want to make sure that this little thing here, which is link timeline and edit selection, is switched to off, and it will basically store this for the dynamic transport. You want this because we want to have our edit selection here still active. Even if you have an edit selection here to maybe just copy something, maybe you want to copy some strange automation here, you still can have all the editing features in Pro Tools, while still the basic mixing thing goes to the entire selection. This is really an important thing, so you want to have this one switched to off. However, if you de-engage the dynamic transport, tack, now you want to have it on. That's really important, because if you have not, actually, if you make a selection, you wouldn't get the top selection too. And then, obviously, if you switch to dynamic transport, you don't have it. So this must be on, and in dynamic transport, it must be off. Then you're good to go. Really important. Okay, so that is great. What about if we like what we are hearing and we are preparing for the next day that the producer is coming? Then we either can just go on working like this, or we could at about whenever we want say, okay, this is really a good version of the song, let's basically have new trim faders that are all on 0, so that we can see what we have changed. So we did it already before. We have our tracks highlighted and we go to Colorize Trim Automation, and it nicely calculates our trim automation to the volume line, and we have again fresh trim faders. Now we could start to tweak the song again just a little bit. So we can have several rounds of tweaking a song. Let's say that is great for this song. So our fader will stay like this. You don't even have to see the edit window. I would say that I can make this blind. Let's go to our selection of the first song, press twice, Control Command P, press it again. We should be on the first song. As you see in song 1, everything is on 0 because we did that change only for song 2. And now we can make something else. New refinement for song 1. Let's say this is it. Now you have it. And now actually we can go back to song 2. Press twice this one. You see that is your fader refinement for song 2. Go to song 1. And that is your fader refinement for song 1. Very easy. Let's go one step further. You can do the same thing with Sense and with plugins. Make sure that it's right enabled. Let's open any plugin here. Let's say that's just a crazy EQ, just for demonstration. We are in song 1. Let's say we want to have our bass sound nicer. All we have to do, we do it. And if this setting is like this, right on stop to all, dynamic transport, the selection is right, plugin is engaged, our tracks are on latch. This is how it's done. Let's go to our song 2, dock, press it twice, the dynamic transport. And let's say for this thing you want to have a really ugly, loud bass sound, and you can do it. Go back to song 1. Actually, you always, even if you don't leave dynamic transport, with this thing here, the playback marker, you can always quickly go into your song 1 just to check that the EQ is right, but you cannot change it now. The change will only be if your playback marker is in with the selection. Good, now you see we have it. Let's do that again. Let's say for whatever reason we want to have more highs in the piano for song 2. Here we have it. Let's go to song 1. Press twice, Control Command P. There you are. Let's say here we want a very dark piano sound for whatever reason. And we have it. Let's control. Song 2. Song 1. Automation on a song by song base. Very important. Something else, let's say you're a producer or yourself, you want to add a nice compressor at song 1 but not at song 2. How do you do that? Even that is easy. Let's say we compress the bass. Now this compressor is active and it obviously is also active on song 2. How to quickly make it right? Very easy. Here on this command 4 automation window, just press on plugin so that it's not red anymore. Now you can do with this plugin whatever you want. It's just like without automation, it will be active for the entire session. So make it on bypass. Now wherever you are in the session, obviously it's on bypass. Now get back to plugin, enabled, and press the bypass again. You see it goes to latch here, indicating that a command will be written. As we are still on right on stop to selection, you still have this engaged. It's already done. Your compressor is in, and on that song it's out. It's easy. You can make your adjustments of the compressor. And on song 2 it's nothing. That's nice. What is however the best part of all of this is that, let's say all songs are mixed. You have 20 songs in one session. And now you all know this, at the end of the mix you find out something new. Maybe you find out that you want to have nice little saturation on the piano because it just makes your piano better, and obviously you want to have this on all songs. Again, it's so easy. Just open the plugin. What do you want to have here? Why not? I'm so slow. Why not FireMaster? It's a nice little plugin by United Plugins. Let's listen it. Let's say I like it. Now we don't have to do anything more. This plugin is active on all songs. It's here and it's here. Now we still have totally different automation on our other plugins. Song 1, Song 2. But our FireMaster is active on both. And now you can still just tweak it, because I first have to say, if you want to tweak it for all the songs, you again go here to this plugin and look that is not active. Then you can tweak it. And now whatever you will be tweaking will be active for the entire session. Of course, this is all just for demonstration. It's not something I would do in this situation to a piano. If you want to tweak it on a song-by-song basis, just the same like before. Have the plugin engaged, and now you're ready. Tweak that one, go to your next song, press twice the command Ctrl P, tweak it here a little bit. Okay, it's always a good idea to quickly check it, song 1, and if it goes to song 2, this is what happens. Yeah, and that's a really cool thing. There is something else that should be mentioned if you want to do this with plugin. ProTools has a preference, and in this preference you choose if your plugin controls default to be auto-enabled is in or off. I'll always have that one in because it's far better. Because if it's out, what happens? And that's what most engineers have as default. If it's out and you add something, let's quickly add a channel strip, that's easy. Your settings are not ready to be automated. And what this means is that even if you have automation on, whatever you do here, it won't be automated. So that might again also be a trick if you want to have a new plugin that is active for all songs. You could also just engage it without having the automation parameters active, but I think it's very dangerous. I like to have all automations active per default. That's why I switch in this preference. I want to always have that one. Now see the difference. Let's leave that window open. Let's again engage the same EQ. Am I on the right slot? Yes. Channel strip. And now you see the difference. Everything is red already. If I don't want to have it like this, then I still can just go out of this plugin automation. Now the difference is still there. Everything is green. You see the green circles around the plugin. It's indicating that as soon as I want to automate, I actually can. While, however, with this plugin here, no green circles around everything. It means that as soon as I'm ready to automate, I cannot automate. And I mean, you even have a second control. If you are on read, anyway, nothing will be written. So you have to go to latch here. You have to engage this plugin. And for me, that is enough security. But with this plugin, you are still not able to automate. So you first need to bring all those parameters to active. It's a pain in the ass. You could just press all three: ProTools modifier, control, option, command, and press on a parameter and have it enabled for this thing. You could open this window and bring all the parameters to the right. The easiest solution for me, if I have or if I get some sessions from other engineer and they had this preference switched to off, so that I get the plugin in this mode, and for my mixing way I need to have it on. As a matter of fact, there is no option to really put it to really put all the parameters on all plugins used in Pro Tools to be ready for automation. You can do it on a plugin by plugin base by pressing on this button with all three modifiers pressed. So press Control, Option, Command, and press on that thing, and now everything is ready too. However, if you have some scoring works to do with 200 tracks, and on all tracks you might already have some automation that maybe your assistant put in and he forgot to check this preference, then you're really having a problem. So for me, that's the thing to go. Now something else that I think is important. So we have here the work we just have done. Now I think it's always important to have a version of your last mix that you did available on a track and a reference track, and we should be able to listen to both of that very soon, because if we do changes, you all know the situation. The producer wants something and you think as an engineer it's not good. Let's say that this trims here that we see was what the producer requested, and you think that actually it was not good. Yeah, clear, you could delete all those trim automation and get back. However, that is not the way to go, because even if you delete the trim automation, you still will have the new plugin, like this Fire Cobra that we put. We made some very crazy whatever automation. I think, yeah, on that thing, I mean, obviously that is not good. So the best way is to just quickly go to your old mix, and I created a macro for this. I can just press one button and it's listen to last mix. Now I listen to the actual mix, listen to last mix, and then you know exactly if what you have done is better or not. Or I can just quickly listen my reference mix.
Und Träume sind Schlaf mit Ideen.
And then you see how good your mix is. It's always great if you have some nice sounding reference mixes. This here is a mix I've done for Yasmin Tabatabai, but I sometimes also have mixes that Al Schmidt has done, Diana Kroll, or Johnny Mitchell's, both sides now. Whatever you need for a reference, it's different for all the engineers. So that is very important. And if I would do a new mix now, I would actually either record it or bounce it. In my studio, usually, because I work with an analog console and analog gear, I obviously have to record it. So I will go to record and then print the mix. We're not going totally through this. If you're totally in the box, you might also bounce it, because to bounce it's fast. However, to record it also has some advantages. Let's say at this position the producer says, no, but here we just need to have a very little correction. We just want to make the bass a little bit louder at this position. Very easy. You just would take this right on stop out. I know it's a little bit repetition now, but I want to make sure that it's really clear. We can take the dynamic transport out. We go to this position and we make a quick automation. And why not do it in trim? So that would be my fix. It sounds horrible, I know. It just would be my fix. So this is let's say a noise that we took out. Now you just can go here and go on with your recording. Now you hear the new change. The longer the project is, the longer the song is, or maybe it's a scoring work, a film music, something long, the better it is to do like this. Because now, if this was our mix, we'll just go a little bit to the right in case there is a reverb tail or whatever, make a nice little cut, and there we are. And then we can always listen to that mix by changing the toggle of the input monitoring. Now we hear the old. We hear the record version, obviously. And like this, if let's say we would want to make a change here, we would like to edit that thing. Let's say it would sound better maybe like this. So as soon as your mix bus here is on input monitoring, we hear it, and as soon as it's like this, we hear the recorded version. To make it more clear, let's delete everything and make another correction. Let's say the producer wants it very loud now. Or the old version was this one. And whenever you're ready to record a new mix, then you just can make a new playlist, and new mix for version 2 or whatever you name it, and you again go to record your mix. In the end, you might have a playlist here with about 10 versions of the mix, or even 20 versions of the same mix, but we can always then compare also our mixes. Of course, we have to wait 5 minutes until the song is finished. And if this was the version I think is good and I want to really make a new mix now, I would just quickly copy that one on my track for the last mix, and that is just so that my macro works, because the macro will toggle out the mute on this last track and it will bring my mix into mute, so then it actually plays back whatever is on last mix. Okay, so that was just a quick input of always having the last mix, the reference mix available on your fingers at any time. So now we jump to something else, preview automation and snapshot automation, and the combination of both, which is also a really important thing and not understood by many engineers. The preview thing is here in your automation dialog. It's even better if you use an iPad with the ProTools application, or Avid Dock, or Avid S3, or whatever S6. For now we can just engage the preview here, and what preview means is that you are basically able to try your automation, and if it's not good, you don't have to write it. And as you see, wherever we are doing something on whichever track, this little button here goes to green. Green means our change is stored in a special preview buffer of ProTools. Let's go on to the overhead. Let's change its EQ. Let's change the level. Everything will be stored. It's really good. Again, you have to make sure that what you want to have to have a change also in the preview buffer, it must be enabled. So at the moment we would not be able to actually change a send level. You can just bring that in too. If it's in, you can also change send levels. Now the cool thing with preview is that you actually can press stop. Nothing happens, it stays green. If you would do this automation without a preview, like we did before, on every stop action would happen. Automation would be written, in this case, to our selection, but now it's not yet written, so we can still refine it. We can quickly discuss with the producer, do you like that? And that's important, because we always have our last mix available to listen on the bottom. We can quickly listen to our last mix. That was the last mix, interesting. And that's our new mix in preview. Again, the last mix. Yeah, the last mix was maybe too dark, but hey, maybe the new mix is just a little bit too open sounding, so let's refine it more before we actually write the preview. Let's just do some fake equalizing. Let's give it a little bit more bass. Let's compare it again to our last mix. That's my last mix. Actual mix, okay. Now this is good. That's very cool. What you also can do is press with Command on preview. I'm used to do this on an S6 or on an iPad, but I think with Command it works, and then it temporarily this, how do you say this in English? It engages the preview, and you see it's still a little bit green. So you hear it without the green, but you can go back. Don't press preview without the command, because if you would do a mouse click on preview now, your entire buffer of the preview gets deleted immediately. So only do this if you see or if you hear that your preview automation is not good, you don't want to use it, then you actually press on the preview and then it's gone. However, for now we just want to hear it without, without. Okay, once we are sure that we want to have this preview, we can now decide for which selection, for which song, or do we want to just punch in that preview live and punch out again, which could be if we want this setting only for the chorus, we could just go before the chorus and then press punch preview. But for now we want to have it on the selection. And because we already have that right on stop engaged, it's red, we basically only have to do a punch. We have to execute a punch of the preview, which is done with this arrow. It doesn't even matter if ProTools is in stop mode or if it's playing. Look what happens if I punch. Now it punches whatever we have done at this position where I punch into our arranger, and as this right on stop is engaged, and as we have the right selection here, you see here it's turned to red. On the stop, it actually executes whatever we've done with preview to our selection. Nice. Now we can go to our second song, do the same thing again as we learned before. That's our second song. Let's engage preview. Let's say we need something else. Okay, let's say we want this. Let's say we want to have everything loud for whatever reason. Always check that the track selector gets green. Nice. Let's compare it either by listening to last mix, which doesn't work at the moment, okay, doesn't matter, or by de-engage this preview. And let's now say we don't like what we have been doing to it. All you have to do is press preview again. All the green buttons go out now and no change. So that's the good thing of preview. Do whatever you want to do, and if you don't like it, just press preview again and it's not written. If you like it, press this little arrow and then it actually is written. And as I said, you can also do this live for a certain part. In this moment you actually go out of dynamic transport mode, and remember, what do we have to do if we go out to dynamic transport mode? You really want to put this right on stop to off too, because if you forget it, whatever you will write to the session will be written to the entire length of the session, which is what we absolutely don't want to happen. So let's say we want to have something on a part of the session. However, it's important for us to hear this little loop here. This is again a cool thing of preview, because if you have this loop, you can do the preview thing, and at the loop boundary, automation is not written. If you work without the preview, normal mode, on every loop automation would be written, because if the loop end is reached and it goes to the start of the loop, for ProTools that's like a stop and it restarts playing at the start of the selection. However, in preview, as it's written in a separate buffer, your preview stays. So we could rehearse this preview here, and once we think it's good, we know that we want to have this set maybe here on that position. Let's make a memory location for that. Go in here. And we want to go out maybe here. Go out here. So very easy. We go with our play back a little bit before, and when we are there, we punch our preview and punch in. It executes our punch for the chorus or for this part. Might just be a lift of a bass solo, maybe piano a little bit softer. And here we just press Auto Match, tuck, and we go back. Yeah, actually we haven't really spoken about auto match. That's very important if you automate, and if you want to go out of the automation without pressing stop, all you have to do is go to auto match. So now we executed the preview automation to real automation on a given point in the session, and later on we went out. And before we executed this automation, we basically rehearsed it on a very small part that we set in the loop. So this actually, without the preview automation, is not possible. There's something even more important, because you can combine the preview automation with snapshot automation. And the snapshot automation in ProTools is something really difficult, but it's also really powerful. It's probably one of the most powerful automation system that we currently have. It really goes deeper than any other DAW that I know. I might make another tutorial about snapshot automation. Right now I just show it quickly, because if you really want to have the full benefit of it, you anyway need a S6 or at least a heavy dock with the iPad. Or I think the minimum you need is the iPad, because there you can store snapshots, while here in the Pro Tools software you cannot, or you can just store one. Let's again make an automation in preview. No, that was wrong. I obviously have to engage preview. Let's say that's our automation, and let's say I want to store this for later use, because maybe here I don't like it, but maybe it's good, or maybe I even like it, but I want to store it. Now, while we are still in the preview mode, we can just capture that thing that we have done. Now it's in our capture buffer. Now if we want, we can forget about it and just punch our preview like before, and go out. That's just like before. However, now with the capture, what is now the difference? The difference is that whatever we have done here is actually stored in the capture buffer. So even if we go on with this, or we go with some other preview automation, we might do something else, we might do this, we might like that, so we punch in, punch out, and everything. Oh, but this position here, that what we've done here would also be great on this position. All we have to do is to punch the capture, and it writes it right away, or go to auto match. So this capture is stored, and at least in the Pro Tools software we have one store. It doesn't sound like that is a lot, but it's actually quite good, because if you are working on something like a piano that is louder on the solo, you can store it in that capture and then go to every song, to all piano solos, and if it sounds good with that level, you can just punch that store or that capture. That's really powerful. You can also do something else. You could just make a selection and say this capture should be written to the entire selection. We could do this like we've done before. We just make this write on stop to all. However, there is also a manual write, and that is even easier. So if you have here a selection, you could just punch your capture here or your snapshot. So I punch it. Now you see all automation marks here go to latch. That means something is written in the automation buffer. And now you could say I press manual write to all, and what will happen is it goes to this selection. Let's say we also need this value for our intro of the song. We go to here and we punch our snapshot, manual write to all, and we have it. And what is cool about this snapshot automation, it just punches you the value that actually, when we first did this automation, we actually changed something. We only changed on those three tracks: piano, overhead, and bass. So wherever we have the selection, it doesn't even matter. It only writes thing on those three tracks. Didn't write something on snare because there is nothing in the buffer. And that is really, really powerful. So we can now also go to our first song and say maybe for the second half of the song that setting would actually be better than what we have been doing. So select the second half of the song or wherever you want to be, punch it, manual write to all, and you have it. Actually really nice. You can listen. If it's not better, there is always the undo. So that's one way of snapshot automation that I think is really cool and really great. What else is there to say? Something really important. Because if you know snapshot automation from an analog console, a live console, a studio console, it's actually something different. Because right now, snapshot, it only saved what we have been automating. So only if here we had the red thing, that was saved. And that's also cool because then we could paste overhead, piano and bass, and all the other thing was unaffected. However, traditional snapshot automation is vice versa. It's actually a snapshot. What you actually want it to be, or what you often want it to be, is just that it takes snapshots from everything, which ProTools Snapshot Automation does not, or at least did not at the start when this came out. However, it can be done. I think they added it, I don't know really when. So let's say you are somewhere in the timeline, like here. I already prepared this a little bit with stupid automation. Let's, for whatever reason, say at this position, that would be a cool snapshot for everything that we could use later. So if you are not in automation, actually if you press capture, nothing happens. As I said before, actually the capture only worked if automation is written, which means you can never really take the snapshot of everything. However, if you press Option on Snapshot, it does it anyway. I'm not sure if you get a visual feedback. I think on the S6 you get one, but here let's just try. And you don't have to play it back. Just go to the position where you want to take a snapshot, press Option, Capture, and actually the visual feedback is minimal. However, you see that now this arrow, the gray of this arrow is a little bit different than it was before. So that indicates that now there is something in the snapshot, but even if you don't get any visual feedback, it always works. And now this snapshot is stored. If you have an iPad, you can basically store it to a preset. I think you have many presets there. Here you just have one. Now, how would that thing work? You could go now to the second song. You could make a selection. Here it is. And now it, as always, it can be during playback or during stop mode. It doesn't really matter. We can now punch this snapshot. And let's see what happens if we just punch and don't press anything. So I punch it now, and you see all the tracks going to latch, which means something has been written into the automation buffer, and as soon as I make an action, something will happen. If I would press play at the position of the playback marker, the automation would be written. If I press manual write to selection, then this automation will be executed right onto the selection. What would happen if I press write on stop here? Then actually it will be written when I press play, and then if I press stop, it will be written to the entire selection, which would, because we have a selection, just be the same as if we manually execute it. So let's manually execute it. And here we go. And now you see here that actually the level, the blue line represents the final level, is actually the same like here. It didn't actually do it on the trim, it did it on the volume line, which is how ProTools is doing it, because it's a final volume automation. Even that plugin bypass here, because on the first song it was not active, so it also does it. So with this snapshot, it's really a good way of writing it to selections. Let's punch in live. Let's say at this position we want to have new values. We just press punch and it does it. it's not always working correctly because you should see the red line always, but let's play stop, but it did it anyway. Everything is right, just the visual feedback could be actually better. Let's do it with the right on stop. And again, this is dangerous because if you forget to make a selection and you punch it, it's punched. Now you press right and stop. Right and stop means nothing happens until you press stop. And look now, that's what I meant at the start. You can easily lose an entire mix because now even on the first song you lost all your volume information because you didn't have a selection. So let's do it again. If you have a selection and we punch, we engage the right on stop, which means as soon as we press stop it will be written to the selection. However, again, it's as good as to just press manually right. There are some bugs with this snapshot automation. Sometimes if you press this right, not everything will be written, so you should visually control it. It's actually not perfect, I have to say. It's buggy. However, it's anyway another part of the song or another song, and so even, I mean, if I maybe just get 90% of everything pasted, that's still better than to have nothing. Now, what if you want to have this snapshot, but you just want to have it for the bass and the piano, but not for the other tracks? How could you do this? Again, that's very easy, because you can also select some tracks. If you just punch it, it will be punched for all the tracks. However, if you have a track selection, you can always press Shift and Command. And as you know, and that's great in Pro Tools, Shift, Command is for about most commands in Pro Tools. It means that it goes to these commands only. So let's look. If you press play, now I have Shift Command and I punch this capture. Tuck. Now it only punches it on the piano and the bass track. Let's match out of the automation. So actually, we only automated now the piano. So let's summarize this. You can, in the stop mode, get a snapshot of everything what is going on at the given position. Let's again take this position here as the given position. You press Command and Capture. Tack. And here, because something was already in the capture buffer, now also something is in the capture buffer, just hopefully the new thing, and the old thing is gone. However, now you got no visual feedback at all. So the best thing is just to try it quickly out if it actually works, because it is buggy. So let's try. We go here on play where there's no song. We quickly punch it and we see, yes, that is actually exactly where we have been capturing that snapshot. It was somewhere here. So once we have this, we can go to whatever part of the song, either do it dynamically, nice, automate, go out. Here actually there is not really a lot of feedback, and I guess the reason is because we took before a snapshot of this song and pasted it to here, so actually we captured again the same thing. So that's not very intelligent. Let's do it here, because here we have some other values. Let's punch it in. Here we go. Let's auto match it, and here we go out, and you see beautifully that it did it for the song. And it even does it smooth, that way you don't get that very harsh ups and downs. It's always smoothed, and you can have auto time in the preferences somewhere. It should be in mixing. It should be, where should it be? Here, auto match time and auto glide time. So actually the auto match time is the time how long it takes once you go out of the automation, once you press auto match, until until it's back. So let's quickly show it. If you go in, the punch in is always fast. So there is, as a matter of fact, not really a way to make that slow. But if you go to auto match now, oh wow, Oh yeah, that is obviously the plugin automation, so that is always fast because it's a bypass automation. However, everything else is nicely and smooth and slow, as you can see. Well, yeah, more or less. Could be made better, but here, for example, you see a smooth transaction, and if the auto match time was faster, it would be jumping right back immediately. If you want to have a selection, again, just the same like before. Let's say my entire song 2 should have the new level. Just make a manual selection here, or use the selection you already stored. Doesn't matter. You punch it, you write it to all, and the volume is gone. You might wonder why you still have this stupid yellow automation, because we punched in one value to everything. The reason is because it is punching it to the volume curve, and at the end what is important is the black line, the blue line. And this blue line, I don't know if you can see it. Let me zoom in a little bit. The blue line is actually flat, so although it looks a little bit stupid, actually everything is fine, and you still could just colorize the trim automation for all the tracks. Toc, 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 here we go, and everything is flat. And if you paste it now again, let's quickly do it. I paste the capture, let's write it to all. Now you have smooth curves. So if you have different volume and trim curves, the curves you get might look a little bit strange. However, the important thing again is the blue line, and if it's disturbing you, then just colorize the trim automation, and then everything is smooth again. So I think we covered more or less everything about automation. I might have forget something, then post a question in the comments. If something is unclear, if there is more, I might make another tutorial. It might have been a lot of information, so if you're new to this, it's clear to me that it's not so easy. However, the way I'm doing it is I try to get better with every production I have, and with every production I have, I set myself one goal that I want to be good at. On the last film music production, it was actually this snapshot automation, because I was able to operate this for years. However, not really perfectly. I just didn't understand every aspect of it. And in ProTools, with something that is complicated as automation, if you don't understand all the aspects of it, it's going to be difficult to operate it. So on the last scoring work that I did, the goal was to get snapshot automation perfectly. The scoring work that I did before that scoring work, actually there the goal was to get preview automation perfectly. So for about every production I have one goal where I want to be better. And it's always a good question to ask yourself, where are you slow? Where do you lose time? For me, engineering is like for a guitar player to play chords. If I have a guitar player and he has to play a C chord, and if I as a producer am telling him, hey, listen, please play me a C at 9. If then the guy says, okay, wait a minute, I need some time, so I have to think what is a at 9, and then he starts to look for where to place the finger. Well, I'm not going to book that guy again. In engineering, it's similar. If you want to make money out of it, you need to be fast, and you need to be able, obviously, to get a good quality of your mix, but that's one thing. Being fast is another thing. Even if your quality of the mix is good, but you are slow, then you are more expensive, because you need maybe 2 days for the same work that another mixer needs 5 hours. So it's better to be fast. If my producer has a wish, I want to be able to do it right in that time where he basically is telling me his wish. He tells me his wish. Could we have more highs on the piano? And I will be doing it right as we speak. It must be fast. So usually we have the selections, we have the dynamic transport in, as we said, and so on. We are on that song. The producer is telling me, could we have, the bass? I'm not sure if I like the bass. in that time I already opened the equalizer because I know probably I need to change something on the EQ. We have more highs, yeah, we can. And shouldn't it be maybe a little bit harder? Yes, of course, let's make it a little bit harder. And should we have a little bit more sex appeal? Yeah, let's have more sex appeal. And all I have to check now, my eye immediately before I press stop is going to this write and stop. I see it's not yet done, so I put it in here, I write it, and now the change is done while the producer is speaking to me. I have done all my changes. You see this button, all good. Another producer says, yeah, but hey, couldn't we work a little bit longer at song 2 because now you did so great things? While he says it, I'm already going to my song 2, pressing all the buttons necessary, and I say, yeah, what do you want at song 2? I say, well, how about if the snare would be a little bit nice, right? We just do it as he speaks. What about more whatever on the snare, more highs, you do it. What about more punch, you do it. And it's done right at the time. So these automation skills are so important. What about if, could we try if the room is louder because the room is switched to off? Yeah, let's try. Is it better? Yeah, maybe it's better. No, it's not better, whatever, what level, I think that level is great. And you have it. Oh, but now where the room is louder, why not trying this on song 1, 2? Yeah, why not trying it on song 1, 2? Let's do it. What do you think, producer? Yeah, it's great. Here it is. So that is the summarize. If you're fast in doing this, then you can deliver much better mixes. There is no question about this. If the producer wants something and they said, oh wait, I have to scroll, oh, where was it? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I cannot add here EQ because there is already EQ automation. Maybe I can bring that line here. So this would now be my line. Is it really the line? Yeah, it's the line. Okay. Let's trim it a little bit. What do you think? Is it better? Is it not better? That is not mixing. I really have to say it. That is not mixing. That is just trial and error. And the producer won't be happy if you work that way. Producer will be happy if you work that way. Done. And to me, that's really important. It's like a pilot flying an airplane. Why does this guy have so many buttons and things? Because he needs to be able to execute different things at the same time. To me, mixing engineer needs to be able to do exactly the same. And even if you don't have an S3 and S6 or whatever, I don't have one here too at my home, even then you can be fast, and I think it's really important, and it's an underrated thing to be fast. So I think that was it for now, my little automation tutorial. I hope it was helpful. Ask some questions if you have any. If you like it, mark it. Make a like in YouTube, and see you later, hopefully, for another tutorial.